everybody, how are you doing? A very warm welcome back to my channel. I hope you've had a fantastic week. If you're new here, my name's Alison. I'm a 50-something witch living in Derbyshire, England. And if you're returning to my channel, thank you so much for coming back. I'm so happy to see you again. This week we're talking about magical tools, ritual tools, and I know that a lot of people get a little bit worried about choosing magical tools, worried about how to use them, where to find them, and I'm just here to tell you that there's absolutely no need to worry. We're going to go through different pieces in turn, explain what they're used for, how to use them, and basically where to get them from. Stay tuned to the end of the video where I'm going to talk to you about the most important piece of witchcraft kit that you'll ever have. You won't want to miss that. And so, yeah, without any further ado, let's get cracking. I've set my working space out exactly as I would do if I was going to do some ritual work. So I'm going to take you around each piece in detail and explain why we've got it, how to use it, and any alternatives that you might find useful. The first thing you might want to think about is having some kind of cloth to cover the space that you're going to be using, and also to mark out the area that you're using for ritual or magical working. I really like to use cloths. I like to have a boundary set. You don't have to, but I find it helps to keep you focused and helps to keep everything in order, as well as looking really nice. It sets this space aside as a magical space and sets it apart from the mundane areas of your house. So I really like to have a cloth. You might not want to, but it's fine if you don't, but it's great if you do. I've got quite a variety. I really like this one with the tree of life on, and I've also made quite a few, like the one that you'll have seen with the pictures of the tools on that we're going to be talking about. I really like this particular fabric, and I've got lots of different coloured ones that match for different occasions, different festivals and so on. But you don't have to have one. It's nice to have, but not absolutely essential. Let's talk about the first piece, which is the chalice. Now, the chalice represents the feminine spirit, divine feminine. It also represents the element of water, and it's basically just a goblet, if you like. Now, mine is made from silver. I've had this for years, and I bought this from a post office of all places that had just a random display of pagan items in a glass case, and I couldn't believe it. I was looking for one, and it pretty much just fell into my hands. As soon as I saw it, I loved it and thought, yep, this is the one that I want. It's quite heavy, and it has been used in lots of ritual work. Now, it usually contains wine to use in the rite of cakes and ale, if that's something that you choose to celebrate. It is also used to hold water, as it represents the element of water and the spirits of the west where it sits. Now, you don't have to use anything as fancy as this. If you don't have the budget to buy something like this, you can just use a special glass that you set aside for this purpose. You can use a cup that's got sentimental value. The point I'm trying to make is that you don't have to spend an absolute fortune. And the other thing to bear in mind is that when you look at these tools that I've collected, I've been collecting for years. This is not something that I've acquired recently. or that I acquired all in one go. So yeah, please bear that in mind. It isn't about the tools, it's about the witch. I've said before, and I'll say it again, I'll say it till I'm blue in the face, the tools do not make the witch. It's all about intent and what's in your heart and head. So please keep that in mind when we're looking at these pieces. So I'm going to set these out as I would if I was going to be holding a little ritual at home. So the chalice belongs in the west, so that's where I'm going to put it. The next tool we're talking about is the kind of like the other half to the chalice, if you like. This is the athame. That's how I pronounce it. You might pronounce it differently. It doesn't matter. It means the same thing. Now, the athame represents male energy, the male spirit, male deity, and it's associated with the south and the element of fire. I think out of all the tools, this is the one that people get a little bit stressed about. But no need to worry. Yes, it is a knife, but it is highly unusual for an athame to be used to cut anything on the earthly plane. It isn't used to cut up herbs. It isn't used to physically cut anything. Now, its purpose is to direct energy. So you could use an athame to help you to cast a circle if you're going to be performing ritual or magical work. Not everyone does. Not everybody wants to use a circle, and that's absolutely fine. But the only thing that this is used to cut is a gap in the circle if you need to leave it for any reason during ritual or spell work. So you would open up a doorway in the circle to step outside, and then when you stepped back into it, you would close it up again with the athame. Now, it is to be respected. It's traditionally a black handled knife, but I don't really hold with tradition. When I saw this one, I loved it. I loved the size of it. I loved that it wasn't an intimidating and highly decorated piece of kit. I just thought it was perfect, and I liked the fact that it came in a little case to carry around. Now, mine's seen better days. The case is definitely in need of replacing, but I love it. And this came from a website called Every Which Way. I'm not sponsored in any way. This is everything that you see here has been bought with my own money. But I love it. It's the perfect little size, and if I'm taking it to ritual at another person's house, I feel quite comfortable carrying this. You are allowed legally to carry a ceremonial knife to the place of ritual work, but other than that, mine stays at home. I keep it safe and sound. I keep it in a black cloth bag within my hallway altar. I think it's important to be very respectful of all magical equipment, but especially anything that has such a strong energy. So yeah, this lives in the south because it represents the element of fire, and fire is in the south, so that's where the athame lives. The next element I'm going to add is a pentacle. Now, the pentacle represents earth in the circle, and there's a little bit of confusion about what the pentacle actually represents, and the difference between a pentagram and a pentacle. Well, basically, the pentagram is simply a 5-pointed star. The pentacle is the 5-pointed star within the circle. For the purposes of ritual, it's going to represent earth, but in Wicca, which I'm I'm not Wiccan. I keep saying that. There's nothing wrong with being Wiccan, but I don't identify as Wiccan. But this item represents earth, air, fire, water, and spirit. So this lives in the north, and it's a very potent symbol. You see it everywhere in witchcraft, and also in popular culture. You see it, you know, t-shirts, mugs, jewelry. It's everywhere. But yeah, in ritual, it's going to sit in the north and represent earth. Now this piece, I bought this again from Curious Goods. I've had it ages. It's been a big part of my practice. I use it on all my altars for the different Sabbats, and I love it. I just think it's a beautiful piece. I really enjoy using it. Now, you don't have to use something like this if you want a pentacle that you've made out of twigs, or even little wooden coffee stirrers. It's all the same. You can totally do that. You don't have to spend lots of money on different pieces. So this is going to sit up here in the north. And there's another example here of a little pentacle. This is a pewter salt dish. Again, sits in the north. Salt's a great representative of earth. So it doesn't, the point I'm trying to make is that the pentacle doesn't have to be a big one. It can be teeny tiny. You don't have to use it at all if you don't want to, but I enjoy using it. Now, again, that would sit in the north with my salt in to represent the element of earth. Next up, to represent the element of air in the east, is a wand. Now, this was given to me by a very special friend who made it himself. It's made from rowan, and it's been hand turned, and it's got a quartz point on the tip. The purpose of the wand is to direct energy. Now, if you are working a spell, or again casting a circle, you could totally do that with this. It serves as a means of focusing energy into the work that you're doing. And yeah, it's very pretty. It's a really nice tool to have. Again, not something that's absolutely essential, but it's a very, very nice piece. And you don't have to have something that's as elaborate as this. I've seen ones that are much more elaborate, in fact. Now, I don't know if you're anything like me, but whenever I'm out and about on a walk, I'd always come back with a pretty stick that I've found on the ground. You can use that. You can decorate it yourself. You can just keep it plain. If it's a piece that you like the feel of, you can use it. That's what witchcraft is. It's using what we've got. So by all means, pick up a stick that's pretty, and you can use that for exactly the same purpose. So that's going to sit here in the east. And also in the east, I've got a little censer. It's an incense burner. Now, incense also represents air, and this particular kind of censer is used to burn loose incense on a charcoal dish. You can see that this one's been really well used. I've had this a long time. Now, charcoal is a little bit of a funny beast. The reason I'm not going to show you how to light a charcoal disc today is because I'm inside the house, and whenever I light a charcoal disc, it always sets off my fire alarm and smoke detector, and there's nothing guaranteed to kill a magical vibe more than the smoke alarm going off. So I generally only tend to burn loose incense if I'm outside. In the house, I tend to burn incense cones that you can also burn in one of these, or stick incense, and I don't tend to have it burning for too long anyway, because I'm mindful of the fact that, you know, there's me and my husband living here and also our cat, and I don't want anybody breathing in too much smoke. So yeah, the cones tend to be my incense of choice because they don't take very long to burn down. So yeah, that also represents air, so it's going to sit here in the east. I've added my little pot-bellied cauldron to the working area now. Now, I've had this absolutely ages, and I bought this even before I started practicing witchcraft seriously. I saw it in a little gift shop and I just absolutely loved it. It's made of cast iron. It has definitely seen better days, and it does need a good rub down, and it needs to be re-blacked, but it's a working cauldron, you know, it's an actual working tool. So it yeah, it works very hard, and mostly what I would use this for is for spell work that requires some kind of burning. And I also use this to make black salt, which is something that we can talk about at a later date if anybody would like to know how to make black salt, which is a highly protective ingredient. Please let me know and we can talk about that. Now, do make sure if you're going to be burning anything in the cauldron that you use a heat safe base, because it gets absolutely red hot in use if you're burning something in it. Make sure that before you pick it up it's actually cooled down, or that you use some protective gloves to pick it up with. I've learned from experience just how hot the cauldron gets. So yeah, be very careful with it. But I think that the cauldron's one of the best witchy bits and pieces, and one of my absolute favourite tools. Now, excuse me, you can buy much bigger ones than this. You can buy even teeny tinier ones than this, but they all represent the same thing. And they all serve the same purpose, but this one's perfect for me because I live in a small house and I don't need a huge cauldron for my purposes. So yeah, I would use that in the centre of the circle, and I think it's fabulous. I really, really love having a cauldron. I feel like a real witch because I've got a cauldron. Now, make of that what you will. I've already said that the tools don't make the witch, but I love it. And when I bought the cauldron, it was one of the first steps along my path to witchcraft. So for that reason, I love it. If you choose to represent the god and goddess in your working area, the traditional way to do that is with candles. Gold and silver are traditional, but I like to use these white ones. Now, I get these from Sainsbury's. These are just their dinner candles. I really like them. They last a long time. I don't have to keep replacing them. And yeah, these are perfect for my needs. I do have some gold and silver ones that I use for special occasions or if I'm casting an actual spell. But for ritual work, these ones are absolutely fine. So I'm going to put these up at the top with my pentacle. Now the candlesticks, I actually bought them from a vintage store. I think they were about £1 for the pair, and I couldn't believe it when I found them. And yeah, I've been very lucky as far as getting secondhand bits and pieces goes. In fact, I want to show you this chalice that I bought in a little antique shop. I just moved my cauldron out of the way. This is gorgeous. It's made from clay, and I just love how it feels. It reminds me of something that I made at school years ago in pottery class, and it also reminds me of the one that Indiana Jones finds in the Last Crusade film, and I just love it. I think it's gorgeous. And if I'm going out and about and want to take ritual pieces with me to do a little bit of work while I'm outside, this is the one that I take with me. It's quite hard wearing, it's quite small, and yeah, it just has a really nice feel to it. Also, it's a bit less conspicuous than the silver one. I wouldn't feel conspicuous using this if I was out and about, whereas the silver one, it might be a bit much if I'm out in the park or something, but this one's absolutely fine. So yeah, keep an eye out in secondhand shops, charity shops, thrift shops, Goodwill shops, as I believe you call them in the US, because there's so much that you can pick up for next to nothing. And you can also repurpose things that you've got at home. I've said earlier that you can use a special glass or a special cup for your chalice. So yeah, keep an eye out and think outside the box, because it's amazing what you can find as part of your magical kit. I'm going to add this tiny bell to my working space. Now, lots of witches like to use a bell to signify the beginning and end of a ritual or any spell work that they do. I bought this one from a shop called Witches Galore in Pendle in Lancashire, and it's tiny, and I love the little tone it's got. It's really, really sweet. And you can also use a bell to clear the energy in a space before you actually start working. Some people like to use sound to clear a space. Some people like to use incense smoke. Some people like to use sage. I don't mind. I'll do all of those, but for speed and for time saving, a bell's absolutely perfect. So you can just pick it up and use it. You don't have to do anything elaborate in order to use it. So yeah, I'll add that to the circle, and we're almost there now. There's not much else to add. Just two more things that I want to add to this space now. First one is this little coaster, which is going to serve as an offering plate. Now, my lovely friend Annetta, gave this to me, and I absolutely love it. She gave one to each of us who's a member of a little ritual group that we're part of, for a little gift for a Sabbath last year. And I absolutely love bees. Bees are my spirit animal, and this is perfect to serve as a little offering plate. So by offering plate, what I mean is, when I've done any sort of ritual or any kind of spell work, I like to leave an offering to nature outside, as a thank you for for the help of nature in what I've been doing. Now, when I say offering, it can mean anything from herbs to flowers to crystals to actual food that I've used as part of the cakes and ale ceremony that I've mentioned earlier. And I will take it outside and I will leave some on the earth, at the same time as thanking the god and goddess and thanking nature for helping me in the work that I've been doing. I will take it out with whatever I've got in my chalice, whether it's wine, juice or water, and I will pour a little bit onto the ground to serve as an offering. I think it's really important to leave an offering. Not everyone does. If you don't, that's absolutely fine. But I feel happiest if I do that. I like to show gratitude. I like to show respect. And so that's why I take things outside. And I think something like 99% of the witches that I've ever met make some kind of offering after any kind of work that they've done. And the last thing that I'm going to add, as an example of what you might use in your working space during ritual is a spell candle. Now, spell candles come in many colours. There's basically colours for every purpose you can think of. If you haven't got different colours, and we'll go into what the different colours correspond to on another occasion, you can just use a white one. White will suit absolutely any purpose, and these candles are great because they're a perfect size. They burn down really quickly, probably a couple of hours, and they're a great size for inscribing with names or symbols or sigils. And yeah, they're very cheap as well. You can get hold of these on the internet. You can get hold of them in witchcraft shops, and I always like to have a good supply in, because I use these all the time. So you're going to need to use a little holder to pop them in, and you can get these specific size ones. Now, these are filthy. I make no excuses for that. I'm a working witch. I use these all the time, so yeah, they do get dirty, but they fit really neatly into these holders. Practice candle safety. Never burn these on the ground outside. Always stay with a burning candle. Never leave a burning candle unattended. Keep them away from pets and children, and keep your eye on anything that you're burning, please. We want to be safe witches. We don't want any disasters. So yeah, these are, as I say, these are really cheap. You can also use birthday candles. I have been known to use birthday candles, and I have birthday candles in my travel altar that you might have seen in one of my very early videos. I mean, they burn down in minutes. They're absolutely brilliant. So I'm a big advocate of the birthday candle. But yeah, that then is the completed working setup. Now, yours might look different. It's absolutely fine. You might not have the same pieces of kit that I've got. Again, that's absolutely fine. This is how mine looks, and this is what works for me. Whenever you pick up a new magical tool from wherever you buy it, if you buy it in a shop, a physical shop, if you buy it online, if you inherit it from somebody, if it's gifted to you, or if you find it in a second-hand shop, especially a second-hand shop, it's really important to make sure that it's cleansed and ready to work for you. Now, when I say cleansed, what I mean is we want to remove anybody else's energy from the object. We don't know whose hands it's passed through. We don't know what it's been used for in its previous life. And we want to make sure that it's fit for us to use and appropriate for us to use. So several ways you can do it, but this is the method that I like to use. Now, in my circle, I've brought some sea salt in the little dish that we spoke about. I've got some incense burning in my censer. I've got a candle burning in the south, and here in the west I've got some full moon water, and I'm just going to pour a little bit into my chalice, a tiny bit. It doesn't need to be a huge amount. That'll do. And what I'm going to do is give you an example of how I would consecrate this tool. Now, this is a tool that's done lots of service for me, but I'm sure it won't mind being used in this demonstration. And I'm going to call upon each of the 4 elements and the Lord and Lady to bless this tool and make it fit for me. So here's an example of the wording I'd use and basically the process of how I'm going to make this tool fit for my use. So I'm holding the tool and I'm thinking about what I want this object to do for me. I'm thinking that I want it to guide me and to serve me well and to do harm to nobody. So I'm going to think about that for a moment and just contemplate that before I actually speak. I call upon the Lord and Lady, and I ask their blessings on this tool that I intend to use for magical purposes. May it serve me well. May it harm nobody. And I ask each of the elements to bless and consecrate it. I consecrate it with earth. I consecrate it with air. I consecrate it with fire. And I consecrate it with water. Lord and Lady, please guide me as I use this tool, that I may use it for its highest good. Thank you. So mote it be. I've really enjoyed talking to you about these tools and all these bits and pieces, and while I've been planning this video, it's actually made me consider my own relationship with my own tools and what they mean to me and the journey that I've been on with them. Some things that people often say is that traditional witchcraft doesn't involve the use of tools. It's mostly Wiccan work that involves the use of tools. Well, to that I say that's absolutely fine, but there is nothing to stop you using tools if you want to. Now, I'm not Wiccan, I might have mentioned it before, but I love using tools as a physical representation of my craft. I absolutely love them. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, and you shouldn't either. If you want to use tools, it's fine. Your craft is your own. We keep saying that. The tools don't make the witch. You can have as many tools as you like, or you can have 0 tools if you don't want to use them. They do not make you any more or less of a witch. Mostly in this community, people won't judge you for what you do or don't do, because we tend to realise that our craft is personal. So with that in mind, when you go out and about looking for tools, if that's what you want to do, choose what feels right for you. It doesn't have to be elaborate, it doesn't have to be hugely expensive. It could be something you've got in your cupboard that calls to you, that fits your purpose. Quick point to mention is that if you're lucky enough to know other witches who have lots of beautiful tools or little pieces that they absolutely love, ask them where they got them from. Most witches will be happy to share that information with you. The other thing about other witches' tools is we love them, we love to look at them, but before you touch another witch's tools, ask permission. These items are deeply personal, these are sacred to witches, and not all witches like other people handling them. And if you ask a witch and they say that they don't want you to touch their equipment, respect that. There are plenty of others who will let you have a look. And be mindful of your own as well when you're with other people. If they want to touch your pieces, it's fine if you want them to, but it's also fine to say no if you don't want them to. And speaking of sacred pieces of equipment, I mentioned at the start of the video that I wanted to talk to you about the most important piece of kit that you will ever have as a witch. It isn't anything that we've spoken about today. It has nothing to do with things that you can buy in a shop or find online or find secondhand, and it's something that nobody else has got, and that is you. That is your intent, that is your heart, that is your spirit. It is what you put into your craft. Nothing else matters. It doesn't matter if you've got all the kit, doesn't matter if you've got none of it. What's here and here is what's important, and I'd really like for you to keep that in mind. I don't want you to feel any pressure to go out and buy loads and loads of kit when you've got all that you need right here already. Please keep that in mind. If that's the one thing that you take from this video, I'll be more than happy. I have absolutely loved spending this time with you, and I'm so glad that you're here. And over the last week again, I've been blown away with the kindness that's been shown in this little community that we've got up and running. I absolutely love it. You're all absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for being here. If you are new here, I would love it if you would consider subscribing to my channel and visiting me again. No pressure, but it means the world to me. Thank you so much. And if you could give this video a little thumbs up, I'd appreciate that too. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you again in a couple of weeks when we'll be talking about my second set of favourite witchcraft books. I'm really looking forward to talking to you about that. In the meantime, look after yourselves, take care, be kind to each other, and blessed be.